To create a new light, click on the plus sign under Animation Set Editor. As you can see, there are 5 different types of lights, unlike Source 1 Filmmaker where there's just one. Projected light is the main and only light that you will find in Source 1 Filmmaker. Each light has their own settings. If any setting names match other lights, it's likely that those settings will have the same effect. To edit the light, normally I'd go into the graph editor, but because I don't want my light to move, I'm going to go into the motion editor instead. Switch to your work camera, and now we can look around and move the light up and down and rotate in any direction that we would like. The intensity changes how bright or how dark the light is. The ambient intensity changes how light and how dark the shadows are. The FOV changes the width and the height that the light will shine. The spot falloff will change how much the light fades towards the edges. Changing the roundness setting will change whether the light is square, circle, or in between. The shadow filter size should change how blurry or how sharp the shadows are. Changing the max distance setting show how far or how close the light is allowed to go. The shadow near changes where the shadow starts. The shadow far also changes how far the shadow. I have yet to figure out what constant attenuation does. If anyone can let me know in the comments, I can make an updated tutorial in the future. Linear attenuation changes how far the light will go in every direction, and not just straight forward. I've yet to figure out what shadow depth bias and radius does in Source 2 Filmmaker. I find it hard to describe what shadow slope and scale depth bias does, but we can see what it does here. When you change the slider on volumetric intensity, as you can see, you don't see a change. To change this, right-click on your project light and click on Enable Volumetrics. As you can see, the light is now affected by fog. This effect will change depending on how much fog you have in the map you are using. You can increase and decrease how much the fog affects this light. Color red, color green, and color blue obviously changes the color of the light. If you wanted the color red, you do not slide this all the way back. That will actually remove the color red. If you want the color red, you'll have to slide the others back, and now you have red. The next light we're going to look at is the point light. The point light is a light that shines in all directions and already has volumetrics by default. As far as I know, you cannot turn volumetrics off, and it is completely based on how much fog you have in your map already. You can, however, change how much the fog affects the light, effectively doing the same effect as enabling and disabling volumetrics. If you find that a light that you're using does not cast a shadow, you right-click on the light and then select Enable Shadows. As you can see, Alex now casts a shadow on this light. The next light is the Directional Light. This can often be used to show which direction the sun is in the sky. If you move this light around like this, it won't actually change anything. The only thing that matters is which way it's rotated, since this light always casts on everything everywhere. I'll just leave it there for now. Much like the point light, you can't enable or disable volumetrics. However, your volumetrics may change depending on, again, if this light does not show any shadows, right click on it, click Enable Shadows. The next light we will look at is the spotlight. This light is much like the projected light, but it's used in more rarer occasions. And much like the point light and the directional light, this also has volumetrics enabled by default and can only be changed by the fog in the matte. This light will start out very small, like a spotlight, but by changing the full cone angle, you can increase how wide it is. And changing the inner cone ratio will show how much the light will show when the light starts to fade into the darkness. For some lights, you can set a game light cookie. This will change what type of light you're trying to go for. Right now, the default game cookie is a spotlight, but you can change it to a flashlight for more cinematic purposes. The last light is the orthographic light. When you spawn this one in, it appears very square, and much like most of the lights, it will have volumetrics turned on by default. Instead of changing the FOV, you change the width and the height of the light, and it can go pretty far. For this one, you can also change the cookies. Most of the time, you only need 3 lights in a scene, but I decided to make this scene with every single type of light. And here's a before and after. Obviously, you can hide these lights a lot better than I can, and often you need a little less light in huge open spaces where you can't hide, where these lights start and end. Important things to note is to get this warm orange color, I changed the directional light to have these color settings, and I made a large point light in the sky to also give this place a warmer look. Sometimes you can use the ortho lights to make characters' faces not look so strange in certain lighting. That's it for this tutorial. If you need any more help or would want to suggest something for me to add in a future tutorial, please let me know in the comments.